Awesome. Thank you. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your day. I do greatly appreciate that. And also happy belated Veterans Day. If no one's told you, do you appreciate all that you do? So we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. If you're on probably about like 15 minutes ago, talked about biggest or not a big thing. Actually it is a big thing, but everyone with injuries and same with like stretching, foam rolling, talk about it's better to be sore than to be unhappy, stuff like that. Like Coach E said, if you have any questions, just shoot it in the chat, or if I don't happen to see it, just unmute yourself because I'm going to be asking some questions. And so if you guys have any response or input, please feel free to talk about it. So my topic for today is just going to be going over pre and post exercise injury prevention, and just coming up with some strategies for kind of reducing injury risk and improving exercise performance. So with that, the main things that I am going to be touching on today is going over a mobility and dynamic stretching routine before your workouts, stuff you can do post exercise, as well as how to format a exercise regimen that uh, works for you and that some things that you can improve on. And then some key points on recovery, because not only are we going to cover stuff that you do inside the gym or any form of exercise you are doing, but stuff to do outside of the gym after the fact to then make sure that you are recovering from the stuff that you do in the gym, or any form of exercise. So depending on what your coach has you doing, whether it is stuff outside, whether it's stuff in your home, whether it's stuff from wherever it's, if it's your garage or basement, just stuff like that is what we're going to be touching on. So with that, kind of the biggest thing, why does injury prevention matter? Just a couple statistics for y'all. According to the National Safety Council, approximately 3.5 million injuries occur annually in the U.S. That is a lot. And honestly, the number is probably a pretty decent amount higher than that because that's just ones that are like tracked that are noted. So it's probably much higher than that, as well as that doesn't account for like things that are like long-term or chronic injuries and stuff like that that have just never been improved. And another one, a 2014 study from the British Journal of Sports Medicine, that warm-up programs reduce the risk of injury by 30 to 40% across multiple types of physical activities like running, sports, strength training. So pretty much a lot of things that are going to be pertaining to pretty much everyone here. It's just going to be showing the importance of like why this stuff matters. Because one thing that I tell all my clients, that I tell a lot of people, is it doesn't really matter what your goals are. If you get injured, you're not going to be able to reach them. So if you get injured just because you don't think that it's important to do all this stuff, it can play a big effect on having to halt progress, especially if you're injured and you're trying to lose weight. It's going to be hard for you to have reduced calories on trying to have something that you are trying to heal or recover and stuff like that. So first thing first, so pre-exercise, the biggest thing we're going to go over is mobility and dynamic stretching. We're going to touch on static stretching a little bit, but the biggest things that I want to focus on for everyone before your workouts is going to be mobility and dynamic stretching. So what is mobility? It's just the ability to move a joint or muscle through a full range of motion. Dynamic stretching involves active movements to help muscles and joints prepare for exercise. Things like leg swings or arm circles. So anything that is just moving your body, and kind of the purpose is using those muscles and joints through a full range of motion, increasing your heart rate and activates key muscle groups. So we're trying to promote joint health and longevity. So the biggest thing with that is like the reason that I'm choosing mobility and dynamic stretching, which in a second we'll get into static stretching, are these are the best ways to make sure that the muscle groups we're using, as well as the joints we're using for the workout, are being properly warmed up, not only warmed up, but activated and taken through a full range of motion. Regardless of what your goals are, the best ways to build muscle and to keep your joints healthy is full range of motion. And so that means that if you're only doing like partial things, or if you're doing warm-ups that's only taking through a partial range of motion, if you get into your workout and then say like you're doing a shoulder press and you go all the way down, but you didn't warm up your shoulders in that lengthened position, it's going to make it very unstable and a higher chance of injury. And that's one big thing as well, is all this stuff isn't just for planned exercise. A big thing for mobility and dynamic stretching is to getting your body prepared for even day-to-day stuff. Because you're not going to have time if like you work a job where you're doing outside work, whether it's construction, whether almost all of y'all in the military doing stuff with that, whether it's drill. There's going to be times that you're just not planned to be able to do that exercise. And so this is going to be helping your body not have to be like, okay, hold on, let me warm up, let me do my stuff before. We want to get to the point where our body is able to withstand stuff that is unplanned, stuff that you go day to day, whether it's if you're moving or you have drill or you're doing any type of construction or stuff around the house and stuff like that. We want to make sure that we're keeping the bodies healthy so we can use them as long as possible. So with that, the biggest thing I want to touch on is kind of like why I am choosing to talk about mobility and dynamic stretching versus static stretching. So the biggest thing kind of this picture shows down here is dynamic stretching is moving through a full range of motion and static stretching is staying still. How many people here that you would feel willing to talk about have previous injuries, whether it's day-to-day stuff, chronic injuries, or anything from workouts? Does anyone have anything major that they kind of want to talk about just to show the importance of like how often this occurs?
Yeah, I got something.
Perfect.
So
go right ahead.
All right. Yeah. So my name's Tom. I'm active duty, 22 years. I've got 3 bulging discs in my lower spine, starting at L3, going all the way down to L5, and I've got nerve impingement, L5 to S1. I've tried everything. I've tried physical therapy. I've tried lower lumbar epidural steroid injections. I've tried core strengthening. And unfortunately, I've tried a myriad of different medicines for it too, and nothing really seems to work. And I absolutely refuse to go the spinal fusion route because I don't know of too many people. Somebody correct me if you know anybody, but I really don't know of too many people who have had success with it. And later on in life, I think it even like requires other joints in the spine to be fused. So I have to like very, very diligently watch my form when I'm doing exercises. And I also have to like really understand that if I even think that there's a shred of possibility for me to do something like, for example, any type of deadlift exercise or anything that involves a motion where I'm going to be, using my lower legs and possibly, putting extra strain on my lower back. It's a real concern for me. I work with my coach, Joel, as much as I can. I'm only 2 weeks into the program, but the reason why I'm speaking up is because, for me, there's exercises that I have in my exercise program and just exercises in general that I just won't even do because I know the risk outweighs the benefits 100%.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that a lot. Anyone else has anything they kind of want to touch on, whether it's something from like previously working out or anything like jobs and stuff like that you kind of want to touch on? Saw someone in the chat talked about some as well. Go ahead.
When I was in the Marine Corps, I had an incident during a training op, full combat gear and a full loadout, and rolled my ankle in a hole in the grass that nobody knew was there. When I landed, it slipped 3 of the discs in my lower spine and messed up both my knees. I have problems with those every single day. Oh yeah, and my left ankle, all the ligaments are torn out in my left ankle, so I can't wear anything but the damn old military boots I keep having to buy. They're the only things that offer the support that I need to be able to walk. And I can literally rotate my ankle and hear it pop over and over and over again all day. My knees, yeah, advanced arthritis, both my knees. Then when it gets cold, I can barely walk. And my back's all messed up, so getting out of bed can kind of be a chore. So yeah, I just see exactly where that guy's coming from.
Awesome. I greatly appreciate both of y'all talk about that. And I guarantee you almost every other person here at some point in their life has had some form of injury. And kind of exactly like Robert was talking about, all that stuff, there was nothing planned about it. There was nothing like he wasn't planning on doing that exercise or going through that stuff. So that's one big thing that not only does all this stuff that I'm talking about translate to exercise in the gym outside, but when we build up good mobility, as well as stability in like joints, tendons, ligaments, muscles. It will translate to making sure that certain things outside of that exercise are also being improved. And since everyone can probably testify at least once in life having some type of injury, as well as anyone that's ever been in the gym, especially when I was younger, that I didn't take the time to warm up. I thought that my body was invincible, and I went through my own injury process where I messed up my SI joint in my lower back, and it took me about like a year of rehab to get back to normal. So that's why this is a very, very big thing for me. Is going through a year of not being able to do anything lower body. I used to do like powerlifting and not being able to squat after that really affected me. So it's kind of like something that I place a big emphasis on. Especially one thing that Coach E talks about a lot is you only have one body. You like once you like wear and tear this body, there's nothing you can really do to get it back short of surgery, and even then. So that's gonna be a huge point. So I'm thankful for the people that spoke up. I saw people in the chat talking about it. So kind of just like more of an emphasis on exactly why this is so important. But the biggest thing that I kind of want to talk on that there's a big misconception on is kind of like everyone says, oh, you should do static stretching. So one thing that mobility and dynamic stretching does is that it is taking it through active range of motion. So there's one thing that I really want to touch on. The reason why it's bolded and it's red is because it's an active range of motion, because I don't want anyone to go into the gym and do any form of like mobility and static stretching that your body just will not allow you to do. So what I mean by active stretching is if you're doing anything like leg swings or arm circles, stuff like that, should only go to the point as long as there's no pain. We're definitely trying to work on improvement, but if there's a certain point where if you're doing leg swings and you're going out to your side and it starts to hurt, stop right before that hurts. And we're going to slowly work on getting to the point where we can get to further range of motion that doesn't hurt. So the biggest thing is if you have poor mobility, to just work within what you can and slowly try to improve in it. So a big thing is tendons, ligaments, and muscles are all elastic, which just means that if they're really tight, and say you do static stretching where you're just pulling them in hold, if you don't loosen them up, they just snatch back to how tight they were beforehand. And we're not doing the big things I touched on in the previous slide is activating things. If you just sit and hold it, you're not activating it. You're not getting blood flow in it. You're actually restricting the blood flow, and you're not taking it through a full range of active motion. So a big thing that I want to touch on for what I said, like they're elastic, is the biggest thing is there's not ever going to be a set amount of sets and reps of things you should. So kind of like talked about, if tendons, ligaments, muscles are elastic, say you come in and you hold a static stretch for 20 seconds. Say you go over, you bend over, touch your toes, you hold it for 20 seconds. If that stuff does not loosen up in that 20 seconds, as soon as you stand back up, it snatches back to how tight it was beforehand. And so you're just wasting time and energy. So one thing that I tell everyone for mobility is you're going to do as many reps as you need to where you notice a difference at the end of it versus the beginning of it. So it's very much a day dependent thing. So if it takes you 20 reps one day, and it might take you 45 the next day, but it's just going to be as many reps as you need to where you notice a difference by the time you get done with it. So I'm not expecting it to be a night and day difference, but as long as there's some improvement in whether it is a little bit less sore, a little bit less tight, a little bit less painful, there needs to be some form of difference by the time you stop. And usually I recommend just doing one set. So one set, as many reps as you possibly need, but there needs to be a difference that we're actually lengthening something, or that we're actually like stretching something out, that we're actually like removing some or helping some type of impingement. So static stretching is the only time I usually recommend that is if you have some type of previous injury or current injury, that if you go through all like your dynamic and mobility and dynamic stretching, that if you can't feel like it's loosening up, that's the only time that I would do that. Because at that point, that's where it's more beneficial to be doing something that's not necessarily as beneficial, but it's going to allow you to get through your workout. So biggest things to take away is just making sure that we're taking things through full active range of motion, that we're getting blood flow in the area, and make sure we're activating the muscle groups that we're going to be using for that workout, or things that like you need to work on that you go day to day, as well as not having a set number of like time. If you do static stretching, same thing as what I talked about earlier. No set time, no set amount of reps, just as many as you need to notice a difference by the end in the beginning. So I'm sure everyone's kind of heard, like you'll look up some stretch online and says like, oh, do 3 sets of 20 seconds of this, or 3 sets of like 30 seconds of this. And it just doesn't seem to work. So the biggest thing is just having a purpose with intent where you notice that difference by the time you get done from when you started. So with that, these are kind of just like a couple dynamic stretches and mobility drills, which I'm not going to run through all of them with y'all, but if you want to take a picture or a screenshot, these are a couple ones I'm going to give you here in a second. Some great videos on very easily implemented hip and shoulder mobility drills, just because those seem to be the two biggest points that I notice that most people have issues with, as well as the biggest thing for like lower back issues usually stems from the hips. The hips being too tight, especially if you have a desk job or anything like that, usually tends to go into your lower back, and that causes issues. But all of these, so dynamic and mobility are a little bit different, but if you want to take a screenshot and look up a video on how to do that, these are kind of like some really, really great like introductory ones that can kind of like help baseline. So with that, these are going to be two great ways of warming up your shoulders and your hips. So you can just look up the first tab is going to be the name of each of these. And so you can look up both of them on YouTube, and these are kind of screenshots of what they are that I usually recommend to like all my clients. If you need something that like the really, really quick way to make sure that we're warming up our hips and our shoulders. And both of these do a fantastic thing of making sure that it's full range of motion, that we're working in every single direction. So with their shoulders, most people just like do like, oh, I'll hold in the door frame or something like that. And so it's not doing too much in terms of that. But these work on like external rotation, internal rotation, working on opening up things and going through all the stuff that I just previously talked about in terms of making sure that we're actually activating stuff with that. And one big thing is that you don't necessarily also need to do these on the days that you're working out that muscle group. So one thing that I always recommend is that if you have issues, or like kind of like previous people have said in the chat or when they answered, is that like these are issues that you need to do more than just the days you work out. So I would say biggest thing is everyone's a little bit different on what is going to work best for them, but taking it and making sure you're doing it every single day. The two times during the day that I recommend the most are going to be right after you wake up and right before you go to bed, because those are going to be the two times where you're going to be the tightest, as well as before bed, before you kind of like relax for the night and your body kind of like tightens up. So with this, we're now going to talk about post-recovery methods and stuff like that. How many people, you can just either do a raise of hands, or if you want to type in the chat, how many people, as soon as you get done with their workout, you just jump in your car and go home? Decent amount of y'all. Yep, I was gonna say. So that's a pretty common thing where like most people, once you feel like if you do the workout, like, or if you do any type of warm up and stuff like that, you just, as soon as you get done, you just go home. And that could contribute to a lot of the soreness. We talked about this a little bit beforehand. But we're gonna be focusing on recovery in two different phases. The point of the recovery though is we want to reduce muscle soreness and tightness, because one thing is muscle soreness is not a direct indication of you having a good workout. So I know some people love to be sore. Everyone, like, it's a great feeling to feel like you did really well, but that only helps to a certain amount. If you're sore for more than 2 or 3 days, that's an issue, because that's a sign that your body's not able to recover. So we do want to try to limit the muscle soreness as much as possible, as well as if you work out, like you're loosening everything up and you just go and sit down afterwards, you're just letting everything time back up. And then that's just gonna be a recurring issue. Promoting flexibility and muscle repair, just like we talked about, and then stiffness and future injuries that could stem from our body being super, super tight. So I'm gonna break it down into two different things. So immediate for like cool down and stretching directly after the workouts. So that's going to be whether you're at the gym, your garage, at home, whether it includes like running. So even if you're not working out at the gym, this still applies to anything that is physical movement or drill, anything like that. I know that almost everyone here has drill or has had drill at some point, so this could go a long way. And then we're going to kind of talk more about things that are outside of physical activity that are going to help improve recovery, because it goes more past just what you're doing physically, how you're treating your body through hydration, sleep, nutrition, and volume are always going to make a big, big difference. So with that, short term is going to be, this is the one time that I'm going to like talk about static stretching, which I kind of talked about a little bit already. Coach E talked a little bit about at the very beginning. Is definitely if you have a specific injury, this is the one time I would recommend static stretching. At this point, I would make sure to do it after the workout, now that your body's already loosened up, because that's like one of the biggest things. is that before your workout, especially if somewhere now that's getting a little bit winter for most people, it's a little bit colder outside, it's going to take longer for your body to warm up and take longer for things to loosen up. So if we do it after the workout, all your joints and stuff like that are going to be a little bit loosened. Is anyone having snow right now currently? If you don't have to unmute, but if you want to raise your hand or anything like that, I have a couple clients already getting snow. Is anyone else getting snow? All right, because I see you, a couple other people. Awesome. So this could be a really big thing that in the winter that I see someone says it's already wishing for snow. I don't know about that. Gotta say, I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I am not a fan of snow. But regardless, especially if you're working outside, or if it's even if you walk to the gym or something like that, or even if you're just naturally cold, that's one big thing is that we just want to make sure that when we're implementing these things, that there's a purpose with it. And one big thing is after the workout, it's going to be allowing your body to be loosened up a little bit. So one thing that I'm a very big advocate of is foam rolling. So what foam rolling does is called myofascial release. Myofascial just means fascia is just basically knots of cells in your body. So if you ever get like a knot in your back or in your trap or in your neck, that's basically just what fascial release is. We're trying to get those knots to basically lay back out. So this is going to help release muscle tightness, improve blood flow to the tissue, and then muscle soreness and DOMS. If you guys have ever heard about that, it's just delayed onset muscle soreness. And so one thing that you usually get it on are leg days. Normally on leg days, if you have a heavy leg day, you don't feel too sore the next day. And then the second day after that, you just feel super duper sore. So this is a big thing to kind of help make sure we don't do that, as well as blood flow is going to help recovery. Everything that you have in your body, whether it's injuries, whether it is muscle recovery, all the nutrients your body has for recovery is in the blood. So we want to make sure that we're having as much blood flow in the body as possible, as well as increasing the range of motion that we talked about. So once again, both of these are for the amount of time as long as needed. So static stretching, just one stretch, getting into the position you need to. By the time you get done, say we're doing some type of lunge, I want that lunge you to be able to like lean a little bit deeper into it by the time you get finished with it. With foam rolling, same thing whether you use a foam roller or say like some people use a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, or a great thing that I usually recommend, they're called rock balls. They're basically just like a little bit of a better tool to help loosen things up, but they're a little bit like more focused. Is when you find a knot in your body, you want to roll over it or around it as long as you need to, that you're getting blood flow into the area that feels like it's loosening up. So the biggest thing is just like we want to have purpose with everything we're doing. We want to notice a difference by the time we get done from when we started. So kind of like entering a regimen is that we are going to kind of have like a structuring for like most people. This includes if the exercise is outside the gym, but first things first, especially like I was talking about with like being cold outside, doing some quick form of cardio before you train. And one big thing is like a lot of people do wrong is I want this to be based on what you're training. So if you're training upper body, maybe doing something that's more of like a rowing machine, or if you ever have that one where you like sit down and you can bike with your hands, something that's actually warming up your upper body because that's what you're going to be using. The treadmill is still not a bad option in terms of getting your heart rate up, breaking a little bit of sweat. But the biggest thing that I want to do for the cardio beforehand is I want it to be intense enough that you're breaking a little bit of sweat, so you're getting your heart rate up, but not too difficult that you're taking away energy from the workout, because we still want that workout to be a priority. Then going into your dynamic stretching or mobility routine on any of the movements I gave you, or either the YouTube videos that I put there as well. Going into your workout, or if you're doing it in terms of cardio, if you're doing it in terms of running or walking or anything like that, is the same as well. And then the cool down is going to be the static stretching. As need be, that's more if you have specific injuries or previous injuries from rolling, and then low intensity movement. So the biggest thing on this is after we get done with the workout and letting our body cool down, I don't want anything that's like high impact. So don't use sprinting as a way to cool down. I know that's like the big thing. Like a lot of people tell me, or a lot of my clients, the first when I meet them, like, I don't want to run. So if you don't want to run, you don't have to. How many people here are just not working out in the gym? They either work out at home or kind of like go out and running and stuff like that. Show of hands in the message as well. Awesome, John. Both Johns, actually, sorry. Or if you have any other Johns, Ben, I see you. Awesome. So this applies to a lot more than just the gym. I don't want this whole video to be just something that is inside the gym. any type of physical activity this pertains to. So don't treat it as just the gym. If you're doing body weight workouts, same thing. If you're moving your body, this pertains to you, or if you have time before or after drill, this is a big thing. So talking about with that, outside of the physical movement, we're going to talk about what I deem as the 4 key points of recovery. It's just going to be hydration, sleep, nutrition, and training volume. So first 2 we're going to touch on are going to be hydration and sleep. So hydration is such a huge thing in terms of being able to make sure that our bodies are functioning properly, to make sure we're not cramping up, to make sure that we're not getting injuries because our body's just constantly tight. So makes up about 60% in adults, and in pretty much every single process that your body does, whether it's movement, whether it's digestion, whether it's healing anything, whether it's anything like that, your body utilizes water. So one big thing as well is if you're moving a ton and you're eating right and you're just like not losing weight, sometimes just because you're not drinking enough water. You're having so much stimulus to your body that you're not able to recover from it. So that could be a very, very big thing. But with hydration, it's not just water. If you drink water all day, and especially if you work outside, it's not going to do too much because it also includes electrolytes. So one big thing is including electrolytes with this. How many people work outside? You can unmute yourself, kind of say like what you do outside, but how many people have outside jobs? All right, Taylor, I see you. Anyone else? Kind of, a little bit. So yeah, so one big thing is, does anyone ever like, you'll work outside all day, you'll sweat a lot, and you'll drink a bunch of water, but you still have a headache? Is that an issue for anyone? Couple of people. That's a big issue that I notice with a lot of people is that like you'll go outside, you'll work, you'll sweat everything out, but you still have a headache even though you're drinking a ton of water. And that's because we're not replenishing electrolytes in our body. And so the one thing that comes in recovery with this is for our muscles to heal, for us to be able to get enough steps in, for us to do our cardio, you do need your body to recover. And so a big thing is just making sure that we're actually recovering in terms of hydration. So the main electrolytes that people should focus on is going to be sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium, calcium, and phosphate. So you don't technically need all of these, but the biggest ones I'd focus on are going to be like sodium, potassium, chloride, and magnesium are usually the ones that we sweat out most. With that, you can either do supplementation in terms of pills or a powder. You can also use a powder, or if you don't want to spend money, it's kind of gross, but you can just take table salt. I usually recommend half a teaspoon, not a tablespoon. Please don't do half a tablespoon because then you're going to end up going to the doctor with high blood pressure, and you can't blame it on me. But I'm saying half a teaspoon. And so just put it, you can either mix with water, or if you guys take a grease powder, add that in as well. Or technically the best way to do it is just putting it underneath your tongue and letting it dissolve. It tastes pretty nasty, but I know there's some people out there that actually enjoy salt enough to be able to do that. So with that, and then
Just real quick, I was gonna suggest something else. So one thing that me and Jonathan, I did a Spartan race with some of the clients earlier this year, and one thing me and Jonathan learned was, first of all, everybody knows they give you bananas, right? But they gave us kiwis after the race. I didn't know you could use kiwis for recovery until we did a Spartan race. So that's
cool.
another one for those who like kiwis.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any more recommendations? So, because kiwis are definitely not something I've heard before. I know pickle juice is really great. Does anyone else, if you want to unmute yourself, have any recommendations on anything that you've done or have experienced?
Sea salt, Celtic salt.
Celtic salt, awesome. It's a great recommendation.
I'd recommend those liquid IVs.
Liquid IVs, excellent.
Someone told me cherry juice. You buy the cherry juice and drink the cherry juice.
I've heard that. I've heard that as well. That's honestly like a newer one. Honestly, Greg, I think you're the one that told me about that.
We chatted about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what cherry
What's it
juice.
taste like? What's it taste like? Is it sweet?
The cherry
I've never
juice
had
shots,
sweet.
they taste super, they're like super tart, very sour.
So
But
they're tart.
You can get them on Amazon and
they sell them in
12-pack,
little
the
single packets.
straw bottles. Yeah.
And there is tart.
Very tart. The one I got
Yep.
that I was given as a sample was absolutely terrible tasting.
Did it help though when you took it?
I got it during my nutrition class, so I wasn't really, it wasn't after a run or nothing. So
Okay.
I wouldn't know if it helped out after.
Side
Oh,
note,
okay, that makes sense.
cherry juice actually helps with joint inflammation. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's before Greg told me about that. So we got cherry juice. I know Madeline said pears actually have more potassium than bananas. That's awesome because bananas definitely the number one thing that people talk about. Tart cherry juice, IQ mix. I haven't heard of that before either.
Yeah, so for inflammation, I've had to try a bunch of different things, but personally for me, what works better than anything else I've ever been given, either over the counter or by a via a prescription, is turmeric. Honestly, I mean, that
Yep.
stuff is like amazing.
Excellent. Fantastic. Someone else said black cherry juice. So hopefully that tastes a little bit better. I don't know. Hopefully that it's gonna say because cherry juice, just like Cushy was saying, banana
Yeah,
water. That's also a first. Banana
that's
water.
a first.
Say
I,
Who said
I've never had banana water before.
me neither? Who said blackberry juice?
Black
Or
cherry
black
juice.
cherry?
Yeah.
Black cherry. What's that taste like? Whoever that was that suggested it.
It's a little less tart
A little less tart, but still a little tart.
than the
yeah, they
red
use
cherry.
it for
I
drinks and
like the
stuff.
red cherry juice personally. I like the taste of it.
That explains a lot.
Also sweet.
You said
Yeah,
it's
I thought it
sweet.
would be sweet. I thought it
It's
would be
sweet.
sweet because cherries are sweet. All
It
right,
is
I'm gonna have to try
sweeter.
both of them.
It tastes really good if you put some vanilla with it. It's pretty common to have black cherry and vanilla go together. So if it is still too tart for you, you add some
Mm,
vanilla. It makes it a lot sweeter, but it's still pretty good for it.
okay, I'm gonna have to try it. Especially since y'all said they sell the package on Amazon. I'm trying. Thank you.
Awesome. That's great. And someone dropped in the chat a link for one of the things we were talking about. Turmeric or turmeric, whichever way you'd like to pronounce it, is fantastic for inflammation. So that's one big thing as well, which is a great point for hydration. It's going to help reduce inflammation, which is like one big thing. That if you have injuries and a lot of inflammation, that you're trying to reduce that so your body can actually heal. Because if something's inflamed, that is restricting blood flow. So that's actually awesome. I'm super glad that a bunch of people have different things. Cherry juice is definitely a first, or I heard first. I think Greg and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. So, but vanilla. So for anyone who wants to give it a try, I'd love if people give it a try. And then in the community group chat, if you guys want to post how it tastes for you and stuff like that, I'd love to hear some more reactions. So next with that, we're gonna have sleep. I know probably everyone's been talking about this and you hammer with this, and everyone kind of knows like sleep wise how good it is for physical and mental health, which one thing we talked about earlier is that making sure that here at Body Ops that we're trying to make mental improvements as well. Mental, emotional, not just physical. And so one thing that like probably all of my clients have heard about during our weekly check-ins is kind of my rule of thumb based on studies I've read is that it's a minimum of 6 hours sleep. Everyone always hears that you should get 7, 8, which is fantastic, but 6 hours sleep is where a lot of studies have shown that if you're routinely getting under 6 hours of sleep, which granted, some people can operate off of it. I know Coach E can, he's a maniac, but for people that aren't as insane or like just like genetic phenoms and stuff like that, for most people, 6 hours, if you are doing everything perfectly, whether it's hydration, nutrition, workout, stuff like that, if you're routinely getting under 6 hours of sleep and you are in a weight loss, your body, the amount of percentage of muscle that you're burning, so say you're sleeping 8 hours and you're burning like 0.05% muscle, regardless of doing everything else correctly, that percentage gets higher if you routinely get under 6 hours sleep for the vast majority of people. So all my clients, every time we do a weekly check-in, I'm always talking about like, hey, I want a minimum of 6 hours of sleep. Granted, everyone has pretty crazy schedules, but this also means 6 hours of like continuous sleep. So I understand that some naps are necessary, but I don't want it to be like you do 4 hours here and 2 hours there. So kind of like the threshold of what I really talk about is 6 hours. So show of hands, how many people here routinely get over 6 hours of sleep? Okay, I just see a bunch of people just make some weird faces like they just got called out. Okay, so then that's a huge thing that I think for most of the people that I would say are the biggest thing around the 5 mark. I wish So yeah, so I would say that the biggest things for that is developing a nighttime routine. I know all the coaches have talked about, all of y'all, with making sure that we're setting a time that you go to bed and committing to it. So with that, creating a nighttime routine, a lot of people are sometimes sensitive to carbs. So not eating carbs so close to bed can help you go to sleep. Everyone knows about kind of like electronic time, stuff like that as well. Cutting it off for like 30 minutes before bed is a great thing as well. Two recommendations I do with supplementation, if you don't like taking melatonin, are going to be magnesium glycinate as well as valerian root. Both those supplementations are technically not specifically for sleep, but they help relax your body if the issue is staying asleep. So since everyone like kind of said, I was trying to scroll through everyone, about half the people said that they don't get a 6 hours sleep. This is one thing that could go from you doing everything the exact same, you just improve your sleep, you'll lose more weight, but you'll maintain more muscle mass. Because the biggest thing we're here trying to do here is making sure that we're healthy, which is really important for keeping muscle mass. So
Or you can call your coach and get some lights out.
yes, perfect. So the lights out is actually currently what I take. It's what I've been taking since I've been here, and I really, really like it. It is very, and it does say, which all your coaches probably told you, it's very potent. So make sure that you only take one to start off with. But it works really, really well, and it's very smooth. Because like the one thing that I don't like about straight melatonin is that it knocks you out, but it does absolutely nothing to keep you asleep. Versus lights out does a really good job of making sure that like you're actually feeling rested when you wake up in the morning. So with that, the next two that I want to talk about that aren't anything that has to do specifically with the physical activity is going to be nutrition and training volume. So nutrition wise, the big things that we want to touch on is protein. Because when we're working out, we're breaking down those muscles. If you're really, really sore, kind of like I talked about earlier, and you're sore for like 4 or 5 days in a row, that's an issue. That means your body's not recovering properly. And one of the biggest things is sometimes just a lack of protein. So all your coaches have given you probably protein goals or talked about it at least. And so the biggest thing is trying to hit that, because we need to make sure that if we're not hitting that and we're super, super sore, and say sometimes we're so sore that by the time we get back to training it again, we have issues, that's going to be leading you to being injury prone. Also, if everyone wants to look in the chat, people are giving some great options about magnesium. Okay, so the sleep with the headaches are unbearable. So that might be one thing. It could be the form of magnesium you're taking. Make sure it is glycinate, and then also you can get a K1. K1 just means that it's more bioavailable, or make sure that your body absorbs it better. So make sure that you are getting a form that is more bioavailable, as well as hydration is a big thing. So yeah, so some of these people also make sure that you're getting your blood work done. That sometimes this is just for people getting in. Make sure that like you have blood work done, that you're up to date with that. So this is going to be kind of like for the majority of people, but there's obviously some very key times that it doesn't work as possible. Matt, awesome. Trying to eat more calories later in the day, so you have the hunger pains at night. Fantastic. T-Mac, keeping it up at night. So one thing you could do for that is, just like Matt says, is eating later at night, as well as a good thing for that is trying to keep your protein closer to later at night. As well as one great thing is fiber. Fiber is going to keep you a lot more satiated, and volume of food. So kind of a little bit of a tangent there with that. But if anyone else has some recommendations on stuff that they use for sleep, magnesium glycinate. So it comes in 3 different forms of magnesium. The one we're trying to look for sleep is glycinate. And then if you can try to get a K1 version, that is good. It just means it's more bioavailable. It just means that your body's going to absorb it a little bit better. So with that, fats are also a very, very big thing for recovery. So sometimes, like a lot of people think that when you're trying to lose weight, they just want to cut out fats, because fats make you fat. But fats are the #1 macronutrient for hormone health and brain health and function. So we do need to make sure that we're getting in good quality fats as well. With that, making sure we're taking some form of omega-3 or fish oil to make sure that we're helping to absorb all that stuff that we're eating. Just like I talked about before, electrolytes as well, and then vitamins and minerals. Everyone's kind of like probably talked about with their coach about getting like the vitamins and minerals through greens powder and stuff like that. Our Defend, you have greens powder, is going to be a great way of doing that. Very well dosed, stuff like that. But one thing that we talk about a lot, which your coaches probably mentioned to you, calories are going to be affecting how much you weigh, macronutrients how you feel, and then macronutrients how you look, and micronutrients how you feel. So we do want to make sure that we're feeling good during this entire process. So nutrition is going to play a big role in making sure that you're feeling good, you're actually staying healthy, and then preventing injuries as well. So that plays a huge, huge role, with protein being a very, very top priority. And then overtraining. So training volume is going to be the last thing that I talk about for the things that aren't technically like a mobility routine or stretching or foam rolling. Is overtraining can be a very real thing, which I already talked about a little bit. Kind of like the best way of overtraining is kind of like if soreness persists past a couple of days. So anytime you have a new program, anytime you have a new physical stimulus, you're going to be a little bit more sore than normal at the very beginning, and that's completely normal. So this is kind of like after a few weeks of you getting used to it. If you're still sore for 4 or 5 days, that could be a sign that you're overtraining, and that's an issue, because then that means your body's not recovering, which could lead to injuries. So especially as I mentioned, if you're so sore that by the time you get back to training that again, you can't train it, or you feel like you're not able to get a good workout, that is a really, really big issue. So these are kind of like the 4 points of recovery that I talk about the most, that help you recover from your workouts and making sure that we're not getting injuries just because we're lacking in some of these areas. So kind of like the key takeaways from this for injury prevention is developing a good mobility and dynamic stretching before you exercise. And so that is going to be based on what areas you need to work on most and what you're training that day. Some of those moves I gave you, some of those videos I gave you are great things, but the biggest thing is you just need to develop it for yourself. Kind of like when we talk about meditation, is something that works for you. So static stretching, foam rolling, and hydration after the workouts. So that's a big thing that when I asked that not too many people do anything after the workout. So that's still a key time that you don't need to spend too much time with it. It could take 5 minutes, but still making sure that you're taking care of your body after the workout before you just sit down and do nothing, especially if you work out at the end of the day before bed and stuff like that. Make sure you're doing that. Some actionable steps you can is developing and integrating a stretching and mobility routine in. Prioritize cooling down. So just like I said, don't skip it. Staying hydrated, fuel your body, prioritize sleep, and training volume management for proper recovery. So finish off the book that I have. This one's gonna be great for some of y'all that talked at the beginning. This one is going to be Pain Free by Pete. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's last name, Egescu. It is available on Amazon and Audible, but this one is great for chronic pain. So this one's going to be a great book that I've heard a lot of people have benefited from. That is for more ways to implement things into your life for chronic pain. So chronic pain just means things that aren't just like, oh, I have like my shoulders hurting me right now. So something you've been developed or dealing with for months and years and stuff like this is a fantastic book that I highly, highly recommend. Either reading it, or I know a lot of people are busy giving it a listen, especially if it's one of you guys that I know in the military, your body gets banged up a lot. This could be a great book for you. With that, my client of the month, who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, is going to be Rick Bush. So in the past 7 weeks, which he actually has new low weigh-in, so I haven't updated this fully, he has been killing it. He is now down, I think his lowest weigh-in was 297. So kind of like we were talking about at the very beginning, after Robert gave us a great speech, and how Matt was talking about there's after that speech, there's no excuses. This is another one. This is mine, like where I say like there is no excuse for not being able to get it done. So he works as a postal worker, where right now with the holidays, he's working some really long shifts. And he is one that he is averaging about 14, 15,000 steps a day already, and he wasn't losing weight. But now he is down to about, his last weigh-in was 297. So at the beginning of his 8th week, he's now down 23 pounds. He's been absolutely killing it. And he's definitely someone I'd like to highlight. He definitely has been doing a lot, because he also struggles a lot with kind of like motivation, which once again, funny enough, we talked about at the beginning of the call, is like he's not always motivated, but also kind of like tying into what I talked about today, he was having a lot of issues with like his knees and hips, that he couldn't do some of the movements that I wanted to do, and we had to make modifications. And he's just been absolutely killing it. Now he can do, there's not a movement that I have him do that he hasn't been able to not do so far. So with that, I do appreciate all of y'all for listening. If anyone has any questions about anything I talked to, or anything you want to add, please feel free to put in the chat, unmute yourself, anything you want to kind of talk about, or if there's anything that I do understand I talk a little fast. So if there's any topics or points you want me to go back over, I'd be more than happy to.
So I got a question about sleep. So always I've had this issue. So when I'm feeling really good, 4 hours hits, immediately I'm awake. Doesn't matter what time I go to bed. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning. It could be 7 o'clock at night. that 4 hour mark hits, boom, I'm awake. My body is so wide awake that it will not go to sleep whatsoever. But then the crappier I feel, the more sleep I get. So 9, 10, the most I've slept in one sitting was 23 hours. It's like the crappier, yeah, the crappier I feel, the more sleep my body forces me to get, but then I wake up with headaches. But when I'm feeling really good, it's like that 4 hour mark is perfect, and I'm running real good. How
Wow,
would you?
that's so I'd say the biggest thing, which other people chime in, is like I'd say setting a routine, kind of like I talked about, because it could be that thing where, like you said, it doesn't matter what time it is. Could be if your body's not like kind of adjusted to a set schedule, that it makes it a little bit like more like fluctuating versus we have a set time that no matter if it's the weekend, the weekday, setting a time. As well as like kind of like some supplementation to help your body calm down, because sometimes that is kind of like because your body's in a fight or flight response that like it feels like okay, 4 hours, I need to get up and go do something, that like something's going to happen. So just trying to work on like meditation is going to be a really really big thing, which we talked about a little bit before, that I think that specifically for people that have similar issues is that's going to be a great thing, is just trying to get your body to not feel like it has to get up and go, which Coach, you could talk about this because I kind of called him out a little bit, where he is someone that just like if he gets that 6 hour sleep I was talking about, he's just not going to feel good. So,
No, if I get
so
6 hours of sleep, I'm good for 2 days. It's weird. I'm weird
yeah.
like that. I get 4 to 6 a night. But Dakota, I'm gonna ask you a question though. On a scale from 1 to 10, how bad is your stress?
Now absolutely terrible. I haven't been very very healthy in a while, so my average night when I get sleep, if I like when I got the kids, it's between 4 and 6 because I wake up because they're crying. But my regular days, it's been like between like 7 and 9, but I'm waking up with like headaches and stuff. Like it's a consistent 7 to 9.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Yeah, so your sleep is. So what are your stress? Would you rate your stress an 8?
But right now it's a 10.
It's a 10 right now. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's a big
it's
reason right there.
I'm talking like so back like before I started not being so
Hmm.
physically healthy, and when I was taking care of myself, my stress would have was maybe like a 3, 4. Like all I had to worry about was when I had to show up for work and make sure my bills were paid.
Yeah, that
And
makes
that's
sense.
I could sleep for 4 hours, and I'd be good for. I honestly I would be fine for 3 days. I could stay awake for 3, 4 days without having to go to sleep, and I felt completely fine. But yeah, my if I got 4 hours of sleep, I was perfect. That was when I was taking care of myself. So that's what I'm asking about, like when I was feeling healthy and actually taking care of myself. Why would I feel better at that with the less versus the more?
Hmm.
So you
Maybe you
might just
don't
be,
feel better.
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, it could just be something that like necessarily like with the lack of stress, you like your body kind of feels like is doing better just
Hmm.
because there's not that much like what's the word I'm looking for? As much like stress response or a stimulus to your body. Or I mean, you could be one of those people like Kochi who just for whatever reason just doesn't. The biggest thing um is kind of like listening to your body after that, where it's like, do you notice day to day? Do you have energy? Are you feeling super fatigued after workout? Are you feeling like you're able to get like, is your digestion fine? Are you able to like get through days and you don't feel lethargic and stuff like that? Does it catch up to you? Those I'd say like are big things.
It
To like
could
keep
be
in mind.
routine too.
Hmm.
Like when you're in a better routine and you're having better quality sleep, like length of sleep doesn't mean anything, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's a quality of sleep that you're actually getting, right? So you could do like 6 hours of like super high quality sleep, right? Meaning like you just fucking hit the pillow, you're fucking out, like you don't wake up the whole time, right? And you just sleep really good. Or you could have 8 hours of like okay sleep or shitty sleep. You're gonna feel worse off that 8 hours versus like just that 6 hours of just that's why it's almost like it take me forever to explain, but we go through like several cycles through our sleep. Everybody knows that. But it's like
Yeah.
when you get really granular with it, it's like these cycles are like there's cycles that are like 20 minutes and it's like super deep recovery sleep, right? But if you sleep longer than that, that's why they say when you take a nap during the day, you're only supposed to set an alarm for about 20, maybe 30 minutes. Because if you go past that, you're going to wake up and feel like shit. But if you do like my wife, like can do it perfect. Like she's a master sleeper. I always give her shit. I'm like, you can fucking sleep like a champion. Like I can't take naps, but she can literally just lay down. She'll fucking fall asleep. Have an alarm set. 20 minutes later, she's up and she feels great. And I'm like, dude, it would take me that whole 20 minutes just to try to fall asleep.
Fall
Right?
asleep.
Yeah, I'm not good at taking naps, but like that goes to show you like the different cycles of sleep. So again, like length doesn't mean anything. It's quality of sleep. And the better your routines are, the better quality of sleep you're getting because your body's just adjusting to like that good sleep, right? It's like, oh, this is my nighttime routine. I'm sleeping hard, and I wake up, right? That's why when you get like really good sleep, like you don't even need an alarm because you just wake up. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's you got a point. That does happen once you hit your routine. You'll start falling asleep around the same time, and then you'll start beating your alarm
Yeah.
about like 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a great point that like when you start naturally waking up. One thing that I want to touch on real quick, Christopher asked, the sauna after workout is actually fantastic. So kind of like you talked about, it's just making sure you're staying hydrated. But a sauna after workout is actually fantastic because it's promoting a lot of like blood flow as well as helping improve your CNS as well as your ability to recover. So it is actually fantastic. The only thing is not going too crazy long with it, and also building up like your ability to be in the sauna stuff, but also just make sure that you're hydrated. So that's actually a great point that I'm glad that you brought up.
I can fall asleep in a sauna.
Really?
That's not
Is
good.
that
Well,
Don't do it.
relaxing?
I'm from Vegas, so if I'm coming out of a workout and I walk into like the cold bathrooms, so like my skin starts to get all goosebumpy and everything, I go in a sauna and I get so comfortable that I can literally take a 20-minute fucking nap inside the sauna.
Yeah, no, fuck that. That's too much
That's the
sweat
most
for me.
uncomfortable place ever.
Right. That's too much. That's too much sweat for me.
Hell
Hell
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
The steam room, though,
I feel like we're-
I've taken a 10-minute nap in the steam room before.
Look, when I started passing out in the sauna before, that meant get out.
Yeah.
It's time to get out.
That's like passing out in the fucking gas chamber. I don't think so.
Nah, I can nap in the sauna too. I feel it.
You can nap in the sauna too, Jasmine?
I can definitely nap. I love saunas. It's weird. Like
I do too.
whenever I like go to a gym, like or get a membership, I look for a sauna for sure. Like that's like a requirement for me most of the time. It has to have a sauna.
They're actually pretty cheap. You can get the ones at home for like $300.
Oh, I don't need to do that. That's okay. Like
I like laying on my back and having my like I guess sitting with my knees up and then my hands behind my head or like crossed in front of me, and I will just sit there and I'll come out of there like I just took a 2-hour nap.
yeah, I'll put a towel on my face just right there.
No, I just
Oh,
have my
man, y'all
headphones on. I
different.
don't hear anything. I'm good.
Y'all different.
Hey, you
I'm
know
not
the one
sleeping.
thing they have in common, right? Is you're both women and you both take showers straight from hell.
Those are the best
Great.
showers. You guys just need to, raise your tolerance level.
Oh goodness. All right. We're
He
gonna,
was right. That's funny.
those are some
That's
funny
funny.
words.
I could just watch TV in that sauna and I'll be fine. I could easily stick in there.
Man, I'm
Speaking
not
on sleep,
sleeping in there.
I one thing I have to notice, Coachy, about my sleep the past since it's like 10 days into my brand new job, and I start at 8 a.m. is I'm actually able to wake up before my alarm would go off. Whereas when I was waking up at 4:30 a.m., I always slept through my alarm.
You know the other difference now too?
What's that?
First of all, you don't have the same shoulder pain.
Nope.
You're in a less stressful environment at work and at home.
Oh, yeah, the less stressful environment at home, for sure. Less stressful environment at work? No, I walked into a fucking dumpster fire.
Right? Oh, you did?
Oh, my God.
I believe it. After we just talked about fires 2 days ago.
Yeah, they haven't had somebody in my director position in 3 years.
So you walking
Yeah.
into a 3-year mess?
Yeah, I think I need to call Chief in Detroit and have him come out and help me put this shit out.
Call
because-
Darnell.
Y'all are talking about sleep. I'm like, what the hell is sleep?
Yeah, Darnell don't sleep. I don't know
No.
how he do it, but he's the senior chief firefighter, so he's over the whole city of Detroit. That man works
I have to
basically
set
2
5
jobs.
Oh,
Huh?
God.
I have to set 5 alarms.
Damn.
I can't. Well, I'm also on a medication that makes me super drowsy, so I take it at night.
Hmm.
That way I'm not going all crazy during the day, but throughout, I think from the first alarm till probably around 8:39, I am so groggy that I don't really want to talk to anybody, and I can't really fully function until I either have a decent bit of caffeine in my system or my body just naturally wakes up a little bit more from the activity of, getting up, going to work, walking to the shop, getting the job started and everything like that.
Summer, you got 5 alarms set too?
I have 5 alarms probably on my phone, 4 alarms on my phone. My TV, I set an alarm, so I have to actually get up. But now I've learned that I can actually turn it off from my phone. So sometimes my subconscious works. So yeah.
Hey,
Gotta
if
get up to turn her TV off.
if your alarms work, that's good. Hey, that's smart though. If you got to get up to turn the TV off, that means you already gonna be up. Remember Ryan, what I told you I do in the winter
I gotta
time?
trick myself until I learn that my own tricks.
Right, there you go. It works. That's what's up, Summer. That's a good, like, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well do it with purpose. That makes sense. That makes
You leave,
sense.
you leave your phone in the other room, coach, with your alarms turned up all the way high.
I turn my lights on in the wintertime because it's darker in the morning.
Yeah.
So I get up and start turning on all the lights. If I see lights, I'll wake up. But my alarm clock is on this call right now.
We're still feeling very positive. I mean,
Jonathan,
Oh,
this
that's
motherfucker's
right.
up at 3 in the morning every day running, sending me a picture with his shirt off. He been doing it forever. You gonna tell me it was freezing out there today, coach. How cold was it? 36 degrees, and you did pull-ups and now you taking a picture with your shirt off. It wasn't that bad. So he got the new nickname Goggins. The new nickname Goggins.
Jonathan Goggins. All right.
Me and Jonathan, when we did it was me, Jonathan, Brandon, Char, and Jacob. Jacob's on this call too. He might still be on. And Jonathan and I accidentally did a 10K when we were supposed to do a 5K. So we kind of just took off. So we were side by side the whole time, and we looked up. We was like, "Where the hell's everybody at?" And we made the wrong turn and saw the 3 mile mark, and I was like, 3 miles? Like, wait a minute, this don't look like we about to hit the finish line anytime soon. And some dude in front of us who was on his second 10K for the day tells us we was on a super, which is a 10K. And he's not even sweating.
Jesus.
How old did he say he was, Jonathan? 57?
Yeah, he was like 57 or 58.
Yeah. And he was preparing for an ultra. So an ultra is a full marathon. It's 60 obstacles. Yeah. So we're going to do it again.
Yeah, my uncle runs ultras. He does trails. He ran 300+ mile ultras last year.
Holy
Goodness gracious.
Shit.
Nope.
Goodness gracious. Yep. Nope. You're right. That sounds like a toenail left in the dust. I'm cool.
Maybe
That
one
sounds
day.
like my knee needs a replacement.
Sounds like a hip replacement to me.
Right. Right.
I don't think so. Nope.
I don't want no replacements.
No.
Nope.
That does not sound fun. That sounds like
I
Moses.
tell all my friends.
That's what we said, Robert.
I want to run too. I'm being chased.
There you go.
See,
I ain't running if I'm getting chased. Who else ain't running?
he did one of those after 3 months on chemo.
I'm shooting. I ain't running. I'm shooting.
Right. I'm not running. Nope. We just gonna have to fight.
2 to the chest, 1 to the head.
That right there.
We just gonna have to fight, or my dog gonna have to bite you.
You think Taliban will go after somebody?
Who, Taliban?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it twice now.
Has he?
Yep,
At the
twice
new
now
place or
since
the old place?
both. It's,
Oh shit.
with somebody trying to be first, this dude ran up on him. The second time, this dude, it just happened actually. Ran up on me when I was in the downtown Benson. Benson's part of Omaha, Nebraska. It's one of the areas, and the guy he ran up on me thinking I was somebody else, and sure enough, Taliban showed them teeth again, and he stopped in his tracks, and I'm like, hey, and Taliban ran behind me.
Nebraska, you're not
So
very
he
far
did
from
his
me.
job. He did his job. I'm glad he didn't have to bite him because whatever he would have bit would have became his. So
yeah, he's a big ass boy.
yeah, he's over behind me, snoring. Oh,
Look like a body laying on the floor.
It does. He 180 pounds. You know we're talking about it now.
I just carry my equalizer everywhere I go.
As you should.
I'm a truck driver. I got 2 weapons in the back. I got a .357 revolver and an SKS, all fully loaded, and ready to go in case.
You ain't supposed to tell us what it is.
Why not?
Dude, you didn't
supposed
lose
to
your
find out
weapons
on
in a hot
accident.
air balloon accident?
Supposed to find out on accident.
I ain't
Never
worried about
fuck around
y'all.
and found out.
I ain't worried about y'all.
That works.
I started
Well, all right, everybody.
during the ride to Chicago.
All right,
All right,
coach.
everybody. I need
We'll
to
see
eat.
you Monday.
I'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Y'all have a good night.